Gamecocks 107.5 The Game.
11:03 Wednesday morning. Welcome into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Pearson, Preston, Wes, Chris here with you. A lot to get to here. Heard from Shane Beamer yesterday. A whole bunch of South Carolina players as the Gamecocks turn the page, move on from Georgia, start to focus on the upcoming matchup against Charlotte. A get-right opportunity, certainly for South Carolina, and we'll talk more specifically about some matchups for that Charlotte game to sort of preview it more specifically tomorrow and Friday. Today, really focusing on basically what you all collectively, and even us here, feel like we need to see from South Carolina to believe that some improvement has been made. It's going to be hard, a step down in the level of competition from Georgia, certainly. What are some of the gray areas? How can we read between the lines and see whether this team is making improvement over the course of the next couple of weeks? We'll have that, but first, time to give you guys an opportunity to win some money.
It's time for your chance to win $100 and qualify for the $25,000 grand prize in our $25,000 signing bonus contest. Just text the following national keyword to 95819. Your national keyword to text is
SHOP. S-H-O-P. You can go shop with $25,000. You can probably find something to buy with that. SHOP. S-H-O-P.
Text that national keyword to 95819. Standard text messaging rates may apply. Please don't text and drive. The $25,000 signing bonus contest on 107.5 The Game.
Wes, Chris, how's it going?
What's up? Everything's good?
Not much. Yeah, y'all good? Did y'all hear from Mrs. Satterfield?
We missed that segment.
Oh, it's a shame. That's one of the best we've ever done. Or one of the worst we've ever done. Rod said it was better than Gamecock Larry, so I know. High praise. And I'm not even saying I agree. Gamecock Larry is our hour 2 open. Obviously an institution around here, but it was pretty extreme.
Listen, Pearson, the plays were there. We just got to execute maybe better. The plays are there. We just got to make them. I think the segment was set up well. We just got to make the play.
I think we executed just fine. I think it was a good play call. I think we executed. I think it was great. Guys, let's start there. We heard from Shane Beamer yesterday. We heard from several offensive players. We'll hear from the coordinators here in just a little over an hour. One of the common threads with the offense, well, let's say a couple of the common threads, and we've heard this a lot through this year, through parts of last year. One, what do you need to do to get the ball into your playmakers' hands a little bit more? Well, you need to stay on the field a little bit more. Well, what do you need to do to stay on the field a little bit more? Well, the plays are there. You just got to execute. At what point are the plays not actually there? At what point, you have a sample size. Hey, it looks like this play is here, but if your guys aren't making the plays, are the plays really there? Were the plays there for Shane Beamer at Oklahoma, maybe at Georgia, and they aren't there here? I think it's okay to acknowledge that some things need to change, but we hear that very consistently. We heard it again yesterday. The plays were there. They just have to execute. At what point is that the responsibility of the coaches and no longer on the players?
I think I'm trying to be as fair as possible. That has been said, and I think it's very fair to say maybe it's been said too much, especially when I think the fan base collectively is at the point where they will probably not be happy with what's said in press conferences. The only thing that it doesn't matter what's said, even though they may say, well, we want to hear this. Really what they want to see is stop talking and let's make it better, right? But we're going to continue to have press conferences. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. I do think that Shane Beamer, Marcus Satterfield, they do attempt, to their credit, to be, to give information during the press conferences and not just give a whole bunch of coach speak. I mean, there's a little in there, but I think they have pointed out we've got to do a better job of this and that, and that gets to the point where it's not going to be, I think, satisfactory for anyone. When you look on the field, it is kind of hard for me to count the Georgia game as, like how much stock do you put into that, right? I think we can view it in light of what we saw against Arkansas, some of those struggles, what we saw against Georgia State, and the fact that the offensive performance against Georgia, no matter how talented, deep, good they are, should have been better, right? They should have scored some points. They should have made more of those plays. I do think with what's been said in the pressers and what we've seen on the field, there has been some of both. And I'm not trying to say that as a cop-out, but have there been some plays out there? Absolutely. have there been a lot of opportunities where we're sitting here going, what was that call? What's the thought process here? You're not getting your guys in positions. Yeah, I think we've seen some of that too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Wes, I try to be. I don't try to overly criticize the players, and certainly not to say that like, well, I have no problem criticizing the players where credit is due. There were a couple opportunities I thought Marshawn Lloyd had to make a big play, and he didn't win a one-on-one in a hole with the Georgia defender. Where like the play was fine. Maybe that's an opportunity that Shane Beamer's talking about. The play's there. Marshawn Lloyd's either got to break through a tackle or make a guy miss, and he didn't. So I don't think the players should be absolved from criticism. But the idea that the offense can be this consistently inconsistent, and it just essentially be boiled down to, well, the plays are there and you just got to execute. At some point, the coaches aren't drawing up the things that they're able to execute.
Yeah, and I think there's a great deal of self-awareness from Shane Beamer. I mean, he even, in the segment of the press conference where he was talking about that, he even sort of acknowledged, like, hey, I understand every coach in the country says things like this. And he said, I'm not trying to be a, well, if this had happened, paraphrasing, kind of coach. And, I think we also have to remember there are certain things that are going to be said in a press conference that our coach speak, and there are certain things that coaches just are not going to say 3 games into the season, going into week 4. They're not going to throw their guys under the bus. They're not going to throw their assistant coaches under the bus. That's just that does them no good. That doesn't help anybody to go in a press conference and throw them under the bus. I guarantee Shane Beamer wishes there was more output from the offense right now. So now he's not going to go in there. Like, that's not what a leader does. Like, the fans can get ticked off if they want. If you're winning games, people don't care what you say in a press conference. If you're losing games and they're seeing similar issues, the coaches are going to say similar things, and the people are going to say, I'm tired of hearing that. And that's natural, but I don't know what else the coaches are supposed to say either. Beamer has apologized. He's put it on himself. I haven't really heard him like put it on other people. He's taken ownership of the issues, I feel like. Now, as far as like, are the plays there or are they not? I feel like most offenses, you can probably go back over the course of a game and say, yeah, that play was there. That play was, good offenses, bad offenses, great offenses, awful offenses. You can pick out plays and say, it was there. We didn't make the play. Ultimately, I mean, I think we've well arrived at the point of, hey, this is on the coaches to put the offense in a position to execute at a higher percentage. And I think that was the issue last year, but you gave, or I did, don't want to speak for everybody. I gave a pass ultimately because of just all the different things going on last year. Going into this year, you don't necessarily have that.
Right. 2 things. One, I don't mean to coach speak, but here's some coach speak has now become, no offense, you're really ugly. It's like, okay, well, I'm still going to be offended despite your preface. Number 2, Preston, when did fair and justifiable criticism become throwing someone under the bus?
Whew, that's a phrase, man. Throwing someone under the bus, because coach, you probably got thrown under multiple buses just called you suck or you're not playing very well today, Preston. What's your problem? Well, that's, I don't know. We get the idea of accountability and throwing it under the bus. I guess throwing under the bus is what we're supposed to present out in public, but we can still be fair and justified in our criticism of the output of a particular person.
Yeah.
Gamecock history has probably the greatest example of throwing under the bus when Steve Spurrier called Ron Cooper out and said, "Oh, well, Ron, I don't know what we were doing that time," right? That was probably throwing him under the bus. He probably didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
That was probably a little bit too far. But saying that our offense isn't being productive, that's not throwing somebody under the bus.
Yeah. Like Shane, I think he did it after the game. It was like, yeah, the offense needs to be coached better. And he's like, and I need to coach better, and Clayton needs to coach better, and Pete needs to coach better. And it's like, yeah, all those things are true. Like you don't have to. It's almost like you're taking away the gravity of like making a valid criticism of one part of the team when you just like all of a sudden make it universal. I think Chris probably made the best point in all of this, which is that no matter what the coaches say, it's not going to matter until South Carolina starts to repeat the results. Shane Beamer somebody could text in, a random fan, or even me. I could type up a script for Shane Beamer, everything that I want to hear him say in a press conference. He could read it verbatim, and people would still be like, well, I didn't, just because the results aren't where they need to be. But I do think it's important to kind of evaluate, the things that they do say, the things that the coaches are citing as areas where South Carolina needs to be better, starting faster, getting the ball into their playmakers' hands. We hear a lot about those points of emphasis. So I think it's fair to continue to ask the questions. Okay, you guys are clearly emphasizing this. Why is it not happening?
And even if Shane Beamer went up there and said things that people say they want him to say, like, I think, whatever it may be, I'm just going to make it up. I think Marcus has done a terrible job calling the games this year. Mm-hmm. He's not going to say that, A. B, even if he did, the follow-up from fans would be, well, if he thinks that, why is he not fired?
Yeah. Or even just the reality that, like, just saying that doesn't magically fix your offensive problems. No, it's not like then Carolina goes and scores 50 points.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's a results thing. I mean, you can get up there and, if they were winning, he could get up there and be as boring as possible, mm-hmm. and people would be mildly irritated, and that would be the end of it.
Everybody loves Bill Belichick, despite being famously gruff, because he won 6 Super Bowls. So, winning cures all. But I guess I just come back to the tidbits that they do offer. I think it's fair to criticize. Why did Juice Wells not get the ball? Well, we got to run more plays. Okay, well, you ran 64 of them, and he had 2 targets. So how many plays do you need to run? 80 plays to get Juice Wells into the offense? Do you need to run 80 plays for Jaheim Bell to get more than 2 targets or play more than, I think he played 19 snaps maybe on Saturday? I don't understand where that disconnect is.
Yeah, and I think it gets to the point where you kind of start talking in circles, because if every week there's going to be why didn't you get this guy the ball and that guy the ball? And I think Beamer's even addressed that before, and it's going to be some combination. It's going to be some answer. The answer is going to be, we got to run more plays.
Right.
The answer could be, or has been, we got to do a better job scheming it up. And then if it doesn't happen, you're going to get asked it again next week. So I go back to that. There just has to be better results, or these conversations will continue happening in press conferences.
So I guess with that in mind, and whether it is one of these things that the coaching staff has identified, that we've identified, or something else, Wes and Chris, I want to get your answers on the other side. What are you looking for? Charlotte, but let's go Charlotte and SC State. The next 2 weeks, games in which South Carolina should be able to score points, in which they should be able to win comfortably. What are you going to need to see to believe that significant improvement has been made beyond what shows up in the score, because you're playing inferior opponents compared to Arkansas and Georgia? Want to hear your suggestions on that too? Already gotten some good ones today on the text line and the Love Chevy phone line, and you can hit us there, 803-404-6100 for the text line or the Love Chevy phone line, and you can get all of us on Twitter. I'm at Pearson Fowler. He's at Coach P Tweets, at Wes Mitchell GC, and at GC Chris Clark.
The early game, 6 to 9 a.m.
I think South Carolina is playing with heart and effort. Something, whether it's talent, whether it's coaching, whether it's strength and conditioning, something hasn't clicked for them to be able to line up and match the physical nature of Arkansas, and obviously the week before, being able to line up and move Georgia State around on the offensive line. But you're right. There's opportunities ahead for this team to continue to improve and get better.
The early game on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. Aaron Judge is having the single greatest hitting season ever. 60 home runs in 147 games, cleanly, we presume, leading the AL by 20 homers over the next guy, and has the batting crown right now, too. No one has ever done this, including the Babe. This is Damon Amendolara.
CBS Sports Radio. 2000, 2008, 2022. When it comes to the economy, those are some scary years. .com crash, housing crash, and the roller coaster we're going through right now. It's a dangerous time to not know your numbers. But over 31,000 businesses have the confidence and clarity they need because they rely on NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control of financials, inventory, HR, planning, and budgeting. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, improve margins. Everything you need all in one place. So, how do you prepare for uncertain times? The answer, NetSuite. NetSuite helps you identify rising costs, automate your business processes, and easily see where to save save money. That's why 93% of customers say they improved their visibility and control when they upgraded to NetSuite. What are you waiting for? NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind flexible financing program. Head to netsuite.com/play. netsuite.com/play.
High school coverage on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
Hey, South Carolina, Scott here from Traditions with good news if you're in the market for an engagement ring or for diamond jewelry, because we have the largest selection you'll see anywhere in the Southeast. And whether you're in the market for a traditional mine diamond or for one of these amazing new lab-grown diamonds, we've got you covered. Because whether you're buying mined or lab, you'll be happy to know that at Traditions, we guarantee the trade-in value of both kinds of diamonds at our store. So if the day comes where you want an even bigger diamond, we'll be happy to give you full value you paid for your original when you trade it in. Even better, we have over 1,000 diamond rings in stock, so you'll get to try on pretty much every style imaginable. And if you still don't see exactly the right design, we'll be glad to custom make it for you. And yes, we have interest-free financing for qualified buyers. So come see us and get the ring of your dreams with a diamond of your choice, only at Traditions Fine Jewelers, South Carolina's diamond superstore and customization destination, on Sunset in Lexington and at the Fountain in Sand Hills, where the Midlands get engaged.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Bridge Legal is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention. This is an important message for anyone that spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time between 1953 and 1987, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-571-0448 now to see if you qualify. Studies have found the water at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with toxic chemicals, causing serious health conditions such as bladder, breast, or kidney cancer, Parkinson's, leukemia, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Congress has approved and President Biden has signed a new law allowing anyone that spent time at the base to seek the justice they deserve. Billions have been set aside by the government to compensate victims. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time through 1987 and developed a serious health condition, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation, even if you were denied a disability claim in the past. Call 800-571-0448 now to see if you qualify. Hurry, time is limited. Call 800-571-0448. 800-571-0448.
Guys, if you've been using or wanting to try Viagra but are worried about the cost, we have great news. You can finally get real results at huge discounts with the generic form of the little blue pill at TryMaleMD.com. That's right, you can now get the generic form of Viagra that works just the same with the same active ingredient but 90% cheaper. Yes, I said you can get the same results as Viagra but 90% cheaper. But you have to go to this exclusive address, TryMaleMD.com. Never pay pharmacy prices of $15 a pill or more. Get the same results for as little as $1 a pill and get it 100% online at TryMaleMD.com. No expensive or awkward doctor's office visits required. Results are guaranteed. Just go to TryMaleMD.com, answer a few simple questions, and your free 12-month prescription can be approved in just hours and shipped directly to your front door with free, discreet rush shipping. Just go to TryMaleMD.com right now, and we will rush you your supply delivered discreetly to your door. That's TryMaleMD.com. Go to TryMaleMD.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
Welcome back into the Extra Point, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, 21 minutes after 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. Pearson, Preston, Wes, Chris here with you. Turning the page, Georgia in the rear view, Charlotte ahead, wondering what Chris and Wes are wanting to see, needing to see in terms of improvement for South Carolina. We'll get to that in just a second. I want to remind you to join Heath Klein for a very special edition of Game Time this Thursday. That's tomorrow from 3 to 6 out of Columbia Craft on Green Street. Columbia Craft can be your game day headquarters, and they're proudly distributed throughout the Midlands by KW Beverage. So be sure you go see Heath Klein and Game Time out at Columbia Craft on Green Street tomorrow from 3 until 6. So, Chris, you did a very good job of laying out the extent to which Charlotte likes to give up points so far this year.
Yeah.
Including, what was it, 41 to Bill and Mary?
Yeah, I think Bill and Mary had 41.
Yeah, they gave up 50-something to somebody else. They gave up 41 to Georgia State last week. This is a game that South Carolina should score some points. That being said, if Carolina scores 45, let's say they win it 45 to 20 or whatever, they cover the spread, they score into the 40s. a lot of fans are still going to say, well, it doesn't matter. Need to see it in SEC play. And there are going to be some people that whatever happens the next 2 weeks are going to say, I need to see an SEC play. And that's probably a fair way to evaluate it. But I do believe there can be improvement in those games, even if we don't get an opportunity to see it showcased until Kentucky or Texas A&M after the open week. What will you look for to demonstrate progress in the next 2 games?
Yeah, you are going to have to go beyond the box score. And I'll just take it one game at a time. Both those games, but particularly against
Look
Charlotte.
at that. Taking it one game at a time. Good for you, Chris.
Yeah, we were just talking about coach speak, so work that in. But, I think it's a benchmark for South Carolina to score a bunch of points in this game. Like that, if you don't see that, probably there could be some things within the game that could derail that where it doesn't matter.
Like if they return every punt for a touchdown and the offense just doesn't take the field?
Yeah, I mean, something like that. You're going to need to see a bunch of points in this game. If not, you're more concerned. But it's not like you can't go, they got to score, 56, or there's nothing to take away. So I think, look, the baseline is they've got to have a better performance and put up points. Your eyes could deceive you when you go from, Charlotte and SC State to then going to Kentucky and all the SEC teams that they're going to end up playing. But you do just want to see them physically dominate this team because they're going to be bigger, faster, more skilled for the most part.
Right.
Now, Charlotte does have some P5 transfers and things like that, but they're not good defensively. So I think you want to see South Carolina score early. God, that's a mouthful, but score early, right? Physically dominate, not have a bunch of trouble, be able to run the ball, not turn the football over, just make it look more easy, quite frankly. Maybe they get in the fourth quarter. This is just a made up scenario, but let's say they've scored, 38 points in the fourth quarter, 42, and you just kind of pull back. Okay, we're good. Maybe you don't get into the high point totals then, but they need to quarters 1 through 3. This game needs to be over by halftime.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have scored points on most of their possessions, and they need to make it look clean and efficient.
Right. Is it fair to say, Wes, that Carolina needs to do to Charlotte what Georgia just did to them last Saturday, where you have Carson back in midway through the third quarter?
I don't know if it has to go that far, but I think that'd be a great sign. Like, some people may say, well, what does it mean? It's against Charlotte. I think it's one of those things where if they score 48, 50 points, what does it mean? It means that it wasn't the opposite of that, because I think you don't maybe learn a ton from scoring 50, but we'd learn a lot if South Carolina scores 21 points this week. And I look back, some of the games last year against teams that we probably would be saying the same thing about going in, as in, it didn't matter if you scored 48 against those guys. South Carolina scored 20 points against ECU. They scored 23 against Troy. They scored 21 against a Vandy team that down the stretch gave up 45, 31, 34, 37, 45. And then before they played South Carolina, they got beat 42-0 by Florida. So I think, in the grand scheme, it maybe doesn't mean much if you score a bunch of points on these guys, but it beats the alternative. And I want to see a team that doesn't have to just I'd almost rather see some 12 play, 7 yards here, 6 yards here, 13 yards here, than just, you score on a bunch of explosive plays where maybe your guy just beats their guy and, just scores because they're better. I want to see some drives where people after that drive are saying that was a well-executed, balanced drive with few mistakes. Even against Georgia State, you can look and say, well, man, they had an opportunity there, shot themselves in the foot with an offensive PI, shot themselves in the foot because they got sacked there, had a holding call. It's never going to be perfect, like I said yesterday, but I think you just want to see more consistency as far as offensive execution goes.
Bill and Mary had 303 rushing yards.
Whoa.
Did
they run the triple option?
6.4 a carry. I don't believe so, because they also passed for 256.
Wow.
You should have your way.
That's what I mean when it should come out, and it should be a no contest. There shouldn't be 1st and 10 run, and you're stuffed at the line. It shouldn't be a 3rd and 1 and you just are just by the skin of your teeth getting the ball over the line.
So all of your 0 and negative yard plays should be 0 yards because it was an incompletion.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's perfect. That's what fans needed to hear. 803-404-6100. Casey's up next on the Love Chevy phone line. What's up, Casey?
How's it going, fellas? I don't think I've ever got all 4 of y'all at one time. This is great.
The floor is yours, Casey. You can ask all 4 of us a question if you want.
Well, I'm going to do a question at the end, but looking at Shane Bieber in the press conference takes me back to when I was younger, and I think that y'all can relate that whenever y'all did something stupid or ended up in a stupid situation, your dad or your mom would look at you and they would want to know the why. And it didn't matter what you told them as far as what you did to maybe avoid getting in this. They didn't want to hear that. They just wanted to know why. And we all know why. We thought it would work. They didn't want to hear that either. So like Shane, I trained myself over time to say yes, sir, and okay. And then I learned he was more angry about those 2 words than all the other things because he thought I wasn't hearing the message. Now, I truly think that Shane is very well aware of all of the issues. But being patient is something that as I've got older, I've got to learn how to do. And as a fan base, we really need to simmer it down and give Shane time and trust Shane. Because if it comes to firing Marcus, I think that he'll do it in a timely manner and at the right time also. And I trust that. And I just kind of want to leave that note out there and take it away. Thank you.
I appreciate the call, Casey.
First of all, Casey, did we grow up with the same father? I definitely went to the prayer. Yeah, yes, sir. What do you mean, yes, sir? You're not even saying it. So I definitely tried that same tactic. But great call. Overall, great call. Yes, there probably does need to be some temperament. And as Chris said, just like your parents, there's probably nothing. Why did you jump off the house, Preston? Well, I thought it was going to be fun. That's a stupid reason. Like there's nothing that you're going to be able to say to appease them. And so he's in a tough situation. I get it. So, but at the same time, I personally would still like to hear a little bit more of the why.
Oh yeah. And maybe it's something after the fact, one way or the other. We'll get more on the story after the fact. Assuming that Marcus Satterfield is not the offensive coordinator for Shane Beamer's entire tenure in Columbia for however long that is, there will be a point when that relationship ends. And I guess probably then we'll get more information. And look, in general, I mean, I acknowledge we are all way too impatient. Is 1 year in which you had 4 different quarterbacks. If Shane Beamer didn't feel like that was the sample size that he needed to make a definitive decision on the offensive coordinator, if you feel like you need 2 years, you should give a guy 2 years. You know what happened to give a head coach 4 to 5 years? You're not gonna go 10 for 10 hiring assistants. You're not gonna go 25 for 25 every recruiting class. This is just a little bit more glaring because you have been unable to score the football, and it feels like there's an easy solution right there. But yeah, I mean, this is the first big decision that Shane Beamer's going to have to make. Shane Beamer has not given me any reason not to trust him because it's early in his coaching tenure. If this continues and he still sticks with Marcus Satterfield for a 3rd year, then I think it will be fair to levy some criticisms, assuming that things don't get better. But right now, Casey's probably right that the most reasonable route is to trust the process at this point.
Yeah, and I don't think any coach, I don't want to say any, we do see it from time to time, normally later in a tenure, they're not going to get rid of a coordinator after 3 games, and especially after playing the number 1 team in the country. Like, I think we got to be realistic. Like, there are certain people who are going to post in the comments, basically, the second anything goes bad, fire this guy, fire that guy, get rid of them all, they suck, they're awful. That's just not the way it happens in the real world. I think there will be, at the end of the year, a very real evaluation of where the offense is and what the future plans are for the offense. But, in my opinion, you're always evaluating if you're a head coach, but 3 games into year 2 is not when any coach, in my opinion, is going to be thinking about, oh, am I going to just get rid of this guy right now? Like, I think that's the way some fans think, but that's not the way the leader of a program is going to think, in my opinion.
It may be the right call. I'm fond of, a lot of Preston sayings, but he said if something must be done eventually, it must be done immediately. That's kind of how I feel about this. But I guess maybe in Shane Beamer's mind, there is still reason to believe that it might not need to be done eventually.
I could go for that. Maybe somewhere deep down in the recesses, maybe he is really familiar with what's going on, and maybe he really has all the reasons as to why something's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
I can buy that for sure.
But that's what he needs to explain, in my opinion. That's
where the explanation comes in.
If he wants the tiebreaker from the fans and from the media and for people to, take the time out of their day and their week to listen to his media availability, I think if he feels that strongly about keeping Marcus Satterfield, there must be a better explanation than the plays are there, we're just not hitting them. And I'm just curious what that is.
Yeah, and to that point, the idea of the plays being there and just not hitting them, I think we as a fan base, we know that talent reigns supreme. Obviously, Georgia with all the 5 stars, we understand that. But I think the value of a coach is to be able to get everybody to a baseline of good, be able to make the average play, not the great play, because you probably can't coach some of those things, a one-handed catch, making somebody juke, some of the stuff that extraordinary players do. But when we're talking about the plays there, we just have to execute. Well, execution is on the menu for what a coach should be able to get their player to do. I'm not talking about making a phenomenal play or even a great play. I'm just talking about throwing the ball, catching the ball, making a block, making a tackle, not a tremendous tackle, because I will grant you that sometimes talent takes that next step. But coaches are responsible for the plays being there and making them.
And there is more talent than the 100th best offense in the country, which is what they are right now in scoring offense and total offense.
Agreed.
Those are the questions that need to be answered. With that in mind, report cards. Preston and I gave ours in the 10 o'clock hour. Wes and Chris will give their report cards for offense, defense, special teams next.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
The demand for your used car is at an all-time high, and it's never been worth more. Herndon Chevrolet needs your trade. We'll buy your car, even if you don't buy ours. And to prove it, we're willing to beat any written offer by $500. That's right, we'll beat any written offer by $500. Visit Herndon Chevrolet today.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile. Smile.
803-630-5929 for more details. Camden Military Academy. It's probably not what you think. Here now from a cadet's mom.
Andrew totally failed 7th grade. And when he came to Camden, now he's A and B student. He's doing very well. So for me, as a parent, I will tell you, be open-minded. Check it out yourself. Do your research, because I did mine. I sent a boy to Camden Academy, and I got back a wonderful child with leadership.
To learn more, visit CamdenMilitary.com.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. The Settlement Specialist, LLC, is responsible for the content of this ad. Attention. This is an important message for anyone that spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time between August 1st, 1953 and December 31st, 1987 and developed a serious health condition, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-215-9771 now to see if you qualify. That's right. Studies have found the water at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with toxic chemicals for decades, causing serious health conditions such as bladder, breast, or kidney cancer, Parkinson's, leukemia, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Congress has approved and President Biden has signed a new law allowing anyone that spent time at the base affected by injury to seek the justice they deserve. Billions of dollars have been set aside by the government to compensate victims. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune during this time and developed a serious health condition, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation even if you were denied a disability claim in the past. Call 800-215-9771 now to see if you qualify. Hurry, time is limited. Call 800-215-9771. That's 800-215-9771. 800-215-9771.
MyPillow is having their biggest bed sheet sale ever. The MyPillow Percale sheets are available in a variety of colors, and all sizes are on sale. For example, the queen size, regular price $89.98, now only $39.98 with your promo code. Order now, as there's a very limited supply. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. These come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to MyPillow.com and click on the radio listener square and use promo code Westwood to receive the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $29.98. Order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. Or call 800-653-7485 and use promo code Westwood.
Whatever you've got planned today, cancel it. Labor Day savings going on now at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone and GallianaSC.com. Unlike other dealers, we're selling new Chryslers and Jeeps below MSRP. Just go to GallianaSC.com and see for yourself. Like 2022 Jeep Compass Latitude. Lease for just $289 per month. That's right, a new Jeep for $289 per month. Plus, you can still custom order the exact Jeep you want for just $1 down and $1,000 below MSRP. Don't forget, we'll take any trade-in in any condition. All trade-ins are welcome. Labor Day savings going on now. The sooner you come in, the more you save. During Jeep Adventure Days at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or GallianaSC.com. 36 months lease, $29.99 to signing. Plus tax and tag includes $225 closing fee. Zero security deposit, 2022 Compass Sport. $1 down, $27.77 per month per thousand borrowed for 36 months at 0% APR. Offer subject to limit. Approval expires month end.
If you have an IRS problem, getting accurate legal advice could help get all this behind you right now. Hi, I'm local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. To get the best results for our clients, we stay on top of the law and the IRS rules and regulations. It's important to us to get you back on track and in compliance legally without worry for your future. At the Ecton Law Firm, we've handled hundreds of cases for everyday hardworking people like you right here in the Carolinas. Don't face the IRS alone. Know your legal rights. Call me to set up your appointment. The first visit is completely free and confidential. You'll meet with a licensed attorney in person at our office in Irmo, just off I-26. If you're facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call me, John Ecton, at 803-771-9800. That's 803-771-9800. Or go to EctonLawFirm.com. Carolinas, if you have an IRS issue, you need a local attorney. You need me, John Ecton.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
11:40 Wednesday morning. Wednesday, my dudes. Pearson, Preston, Wes, Chris here with you in the Herndon Chevy Studios at 107.5 The Game. Eagerly awaiting Wes and Chris to give their final report card. Neither of you has taught before, correct?
Correct.
Chris, were you ever a teacher at any point in your life?
No.
Okay. So you've never written a report card. Preston, the only one here that's written a report card. He gave some very good sample, comments home to accompany the grades. If such and such student would just apply him or herself, then you can easily see this grade, whatever. We did have Mrs. Satterfield call earlier. We appreciate that. That's air quotes Mrs. Satterfield to defend the grade that we gave to her son, which is fine. I got a couple more hits with that in mind. Got a text here from Frank Beamer. Frank Beamer.
Air quotes, Frank.
Yes. The Citadel, Virginia Tech. Right now, I'm talking to my fans, Gamecock fans, and Shane. Shane, my boy, if you associate with the wrong crowd, you're going to get a bad reputation too. Time to break up with your friend Marcus. You're not going to make the grade if you're depending on him for the group assignment. That's tough too. Those group projects.
Good call.
Preston, did you assign group projects as a teacher?
I've definitely moved. It's something that always sounds good in teacher school. It sounds good in theory, but then when you see it in practicum, you realize that two people are doing the work for five, and students hate it. It's not it's forced fun. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough. Also got a text here from Frank Martin saying Marcus Satterfield is getting grilled for something he can't control. COVID has affected all of our teams. It's true. True. Appreciate that. It's been a lot of role play today, guys. I don't know how into the teacher role you want to get, but we'll start. We'll go in the same order that Preston and I went. We will start with special teams. Professor Wes, Professor Chris, what is your grade for South Carolina special teams after the first quarter of the academic year?
I'm going to go A-, based on the ability to create some plays, some fakes that worked. For the most part, just a well-coached group. They got docked a little bit because apparently against Arkansas, there were a couple of opportunities for a return that could have busted out from what I think Beamer had said. And obviously some bad operations on a couple snaps hurt you there. But
2 PATs in particular.
yeah, for the most part, you replace Parker White, and we're not sitting here talking about kicker issues. Kai Kroger is phenomenal at punter. So yeah, A-. Don't know if there's even a whole lot to say or add. I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I'll go A- too. Even less to add now that you said that. They did give up. Let me pull up the number. In addition, very few negatives with that group, right? A couple missed opportunities, some bad snaps. That I guess only one of those really hurt you with the extra point. And there was one play against Arkansas. I mean, we're really kind of digging in the bag here. A punt return. 13-yard punt return. Okay, it's not 13. It looked longer. I remembered it in my head as longer. And then there were, if you're really, really, really reaching against Arkansas, you had a couple onside kicks that had no chance, but then they ended up getting one.
Right. Yeah, so, 33% is a decent percentage on onside kicks, I guess. So.
That's pretty decent.
Way higher than the average for like every onside.
Yeah, it feels like the average is about 0.01% on just like every onside kick I watch on a
Saturday. Actually higher than South Carolina's third down percentage on offense.
Yeah.
And I'm not even joking.
Yeah.
They are, I think, at about 27%.
Yeah.
So
not great. Okay, that's good. So I think I gave A-, Preston. You gave B+, correct, to special teams?
Yeah, I gave a B+. Only, I guess as a defensive person, that one Kai Kroger shank kind of sticks out in my mind.
Yep. Yeah, gave Arkansas a little bit of a short field there.
Yeah, so but solidly B+.
And Preston's comments home were, been good having a good student in class.
It's been great. It's been a pleasure to have in class. He's been a ray of sunshine in a room full of darkness.
Yeah, keep up the good work. This can very easily be an A next quarter.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we'll go offense next.
I mean, I don't know how you can give anything higher than an F. Like if we're, this is I believe where you say look, you have the potential for so much more. Your upside is still there. There's still time to turn this around. A lot of people are maybe saying there isn't, but we're only 3 games into this season. We're only a quarter of the way into this semester. This can still be turned around. However, you better make an A this week on this big test coming up.
Yeah, and it may be a deal where like you look at the student and it doesn't have as much potential as you thought maybe it did, but you're still like we can get more here, right? So, yeah, I mean it is hard whether you're looking at a stat sheet or you're watching the game or hopefully you're doing both and not, this offense is not passing the test in any regard. And while I fully understand that you have to kind of take the Georgia performance with a grain of salt, even though it was not as good as it should have been, there are still 2 other games to rely on. And taking the full picture of all of it, it has been a failing effort for the most part.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, Professor Thorne, Coach P over here, suggested maybe, Marcus, good student, good person, but that maybe this honors or AP class is just not the right fit for him, that maybe after first quarter it is worth considering going back to regular algebra as opposed to honors algebra. Are you guys there?
I'm a little more wait and see, but
Wes wants to see the next test. Okay.
Yeah, but that idea is floating around in the head.
Okay. It's worth talking to Mrs. Satterfield, just planting that seed so she might be ready for it early in Q2 if it's not too late. Okay. Defense.
I'm a little more torn on the defense. I'm gonna go a little more positive than maybe y'all did. I don't know. I'll give them a C- based on the fact that maybe some. Let's see if I can continue this analogy. There were some extenuating circumstances, maybe some things going on at home. We thought that they would be able to fully focus on everything in class, but just there's been some distractions, aka a bunch of injuries to this team. So
you actually missed a couple of days of school because you broke your leg and you had to go get a cast, or no, you broke your arm. You haven't been able to take notes.
Yeah. There have definitely been some issues. and this grade could still go either way at this point.
All right.
Is where I am. So I actually like some of the things I saw before you had the issues, but now you got to sort of bounce back and realize you got to figure out how to write with the other hand, and take notes that way.
Yeah, I think you taught me into going C- with that. I think because I was on the D train.
Full disclosure: if you were as a teacher in high school or middle school right now, you would be getting roasted. But continue.
Oh, I was fully aware. Did you see the face I made? There's been twice today where I almost said it on the air and I didn't. We get some eye rolls. Anyway, yeah, I'll go C- because I do think there's the injuries do have to play in. I think you do have to look at they gave up 14 points to Georgia State. That's solid, right? No matter, let's take out the offense. That was solid. Arkansas game had some injuries in game, got banged up, had a bad performance. Georgia, you had a really bad performance, but you were already missing, what was it? 5 starters and some depth guys, and Georgia's really, really good. I'll benefit of the doubt that one a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I went D for that for some of those reasons, and because it was a solid performance against Georgia State. Preston gave him a failing grade, a harsh critic of the defense.
Yeah, I gave him an F to this point. But I was on what Wes said, that maybe something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe is there a new girlfriend or a boyfriend in town? Is something has changed?
Yeah.
In his behavior over the past week, and we just want to get him back on. So maybe my F was more like a warning shot.
Yeah,
like you could fail this if you continue down this path, but I don't think you're a failing student.
We know this student is capable of more.
Right.
I was about to say this was a solid A/B student last year
for sure,
and came in with the reputation of there probably aren't going to be any problems here. So we're trying to figure out
exactly. We're
right,
just trying to
where
diagnose
the issues at.
And I also feel like this student, once you sent them the F, things would change.
They got it.
They'd be like, oh, okay, I need to tighten up.
Yeah, I can't go better than D, though, because they have given up 92 points in the last 2 games, which is not great, Bob. 803-404-6100. We have the overall team grade still yet to go. This is a Shane Beamer grade, or, again, just the team as a collective, however you want to think about it. We'll get that from Wes and Chris next.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
Life matters. One of the highlights of my day is to be able to share a minute with you each weekday morning. I love the many responses you've been kind enough to send our way. So today I'd like to use my time to simply pray for you and ask God's blessing to be upon your life. From the Old Testament book of Numbers, chapter 6. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. I also ask the Lord to bless you with health, good relationships, stable homes, and strong families. May his love bring you into full knowledge of his will and grace in your lives. This is Stephen Chitty. Visit us in person or on the web at ChristianLifeColumbia.com. And remember, friends, that life matters, and so do you. Go to CLColumbia.com for in-person and live streaming service times.
This is a paid advertisement. Pulaski Kirker with principal offices in Houston, Texas is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Brandon Pettijohn is attorney licensed in North Carolina. Attention! All military members or military families or contractors that spend time at the Marine Base Camp Lejeune. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time from 1953 to 1987, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-927-2971 now to see if you qualify. That's right. Marines, their families, employees, contractors, and anyone who lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Studies have found the water at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with toxic chemicals for decades, causing serious health conditions such as cancer, Parkinson's, leukemia, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Congress has approved and President Biden has signed a new law allowing anyone that spent time at the base to seek the justice they deserve. Billions have been set aside for victims of toxic water claims. If you or a loved one was at Camp Lejeune at any time through 1987 and developed a serious health condition, you or your family may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Hurry, time is limited. Call 800-927-2971. That's 800-927-2971. 800-927-2971.
Here's the deal.
I've had constipation with belly pain, discomfort, and bloating for years. I've tried a lot of laxatives and fiber supplements, but my symptoms keep coming back.
You could have a chronic condition called irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Linzess, or linaclotide, is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. Linzess works differently than laxatives. It lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2 years old. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. There could be more to your story with IBS-C. Talk to a doctor today. Say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS. Sponsored by Appy and Ironwood Pharmaceuticals.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson Bridge Legal is responsible for the content of this ad. Attention. This is an important message for anyone that spent time at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time between 1953 and 1987, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call 800-571-0448 now to see if you qualify. Studies have found the water at Camp Lejeune was contaminated with toxic chemicals, causing serious health conditions such as bladder, breast, or kidney cancer, Parkinson's, leukemia, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Congress has approved and President Biden has signed a new law allowing anyone that spent time at the base to seek the justice they deserve. Billions have been set aside by the government to compensate victims. If you or a family member lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune at any time through 1987 and developed a serious health condition, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation, even if you were denied a disability claim in the past. Call 800-571-0448 now to see if you qualify. Hurry, time is limited. Call 800-571-0448, 800-571-0448.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour.
Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler,
Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell.
On the home of the Gamecocks.
1075
The Game.
A couple minutes left here in the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Pearson, Preston, Wes Mitchell, and the D-Train, Chris Clark, here in the Herndon Chevy Studios, giving out final report cards. So I say final report cards. It's an interim. It is still just Q1 of the season. You like how I just slid that in there and just not even going to acknowledge it. That's going to make the intro. All right, guys. Y'all gave out some grades. Y'all both gave A- for special teams. You both gave C- for defense. You both gave F for offense. My challenge to you is, Chris, you can go first because Wes has been going first. And Wes, you can't pick the same thing as Chris. What is the Shane Beamer head coach / overall grade that you give South Carolina after the first quarter of the academic year?
Had all commercial break to think about this. I'm going to go. I already know what he's going to say. Do you?
Yeah, it'll be close, though.
He's going to say C. I was going to go C-.
All right, so you can't pick C-, Wes, which is good. That's like you can't pick 5. You either got to pick a D or a solid
Now
C.
I'm wondering why you thought that I was going to pick that. I just know you. Yeah, that's true.
What a beautiful relationship.
I'll go C then. I think that's higher than most will give, but this thing for me could still very easily, like, I think I am giving a 5 in that this quite literally, we could be talking about this season in 5 games or towards the end of this semester and be saying that's another really, really solid year, or it could go completely the other direction. I think most people probably thought South Carolina would be 1-2 at this point. They probably didn't think it would look quite like it has at this point. If they were 1-2 and had like played really well against Georgia and played really well against Arkansas, I'd probably be a little more okay with 1-2. But I am still completely on the fence about where this season is going to go. And I'm trying to remember this time last year, nobody was sitting there saying this team's going to, win 7 games, have a positive finish to the year. lots of people are sort of giving up on the season a few games in. So I don't want to make the same mistake. I think it could go either way.
What did we give?
I feel like I gave maybe a D, something along those lines. But Wes just made me think of maybe there's a student who maybe is a slow starter and just likes to turn it on as the year goes on.
Yeah. Well, they'll have 2 chances to do it in the next 2 weeks. We'll be back tomorrow to talk a little bit more specifically about the Charlotte game, dig into some of the X's and O's and some of the matchups that are going to be crucial for Carolina to not just win, but win convincingly on Saturday. That's all we have time for today. Appreciate you all listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.
Celebrating our 15th